I see Chibits quite often sending me messages asking me what is the best type of villains. So since I have received these type of comments in the past, I decided to make a topic video wrapped around this and kind of discuss some of my favorite types of villains. I guess they're not the best of all time because it comes down to your personal taste in villains, but still, I just want to talk about what is the best type of villains in my opinion. So, I want to cover a couple points, and then I want to ask you, Chibits, what is your favorite / best type of villains you like to see in anime, manga, or any form of literature? I'm just very curious. So, I want to bring up some different type of examples. There's many types of villains out there. You have villains that are power hungry, they want to gain power. You have villains that want to do world domination. You have villains that want to conquer a country. You have all sorts of type of villains, which that's kind of like the beginning level of villains. Then you have villains that you really want to know more about. For instance, Makishima Shogo from Psycho Pass. He is one of the villains that, in my book, is personally one of my favorites because of the philosophical meaning of him and what he stood for in terms of this series. He is one type of villain that I always enjoyed when I watched Psycho Pass, and I feel like he was one of the perfect examples of a villain that was executed quite properly. Now, another good example of villains, I would say, would probably be Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Father and the Homunculus, they were some really well executed villains. They were fleshed out with each individual evil, what makes them their character, and also that once again you can kind of tie in philosophical meaning to these villains that really makes you understand their viewpoint. It makes you relate with them where you're like, I can understand why they did this, especially when it comes to like Makishima Shogo from Psycho Pass. You understand his motive, you know why he wants to do this, and it makes them a really compelling villains. Like, they're really compelling villains when you can understand why they're doing this and for what reason. Now, another beautiful example of a good villain would probably be Marilyn. He's a villain that has stood out among the crowd to me since the time I watched Hunter x Hunter 2011. Marilyn is a character that starts off as a straight up evil dude. He's so fucking evil. And you are with this character, and you can kind of consider Marilyn as the main character of the Chimera Ant arc, because you get to see his progression from the starting point to the ending point, and we get to kind of see this dude's lifespan and how it kind of goes from the beginning to the end. And he starts off evil, and he becomes like a morally gray character. He's still considered evil in a way, but you get to see this human side to him and understand why he does what he does. So I feel like Marilyn is also one of the best and interesting type of villains I have ever seen in probably anime, manga, or any type of literature, to be able to really just put yourself into his shoes and like, holy crap, I can understand why he's doing this, and he's such a compelling villain. But last but not least, one villain I think that takes the cake in terms of best villains, or my favorite type of villains, would be Berserk. Griffith. Griffith from Berserk is probably one of the best villains I've ever seen, and my favorite type of villain, because you get to see his story from the beginning, similar to Merrim's, of course, but it's the exact opposite. Griffith is a type of character when we see him start off as a pretty boy. He has everything. Well, he doesn't necessarily have everything, but he could get anything, because his entire persona, he just makes people come to him. He draws people into him, and he has this perfect aura just constantly around him. And he's the type of character, at first, you love him. He's a cool character when you see him introduced in the Berserk universe, and you're like, oh my god, this is one of my favorite characters. And eventually, as you slowly gain this characterization and character development with this character, you finally get to volume 13 of Berserk, and then you get to see the true horrors of a villain, and how a character should be evil. What makes Griffith, I think, stand among the rest in terms of villains is probably because he's a person that started off in a good spot. He was a good guy. He was a good person. And then, when he made that choice, which I'm not going to spoil, but when he made that choice, that is when his character went straight up to the point to where you want him fucking dead. And it's not that type of villain to where, oh, he's just evil to be evil. But he was a perfectly well-written character that made you love him, but hate him at the exact same time for what he did and what he stood for. But then you can't help but say, I like his character so much for what he has done, what he stands for, what he continues to do in the series. You just love Griffith, but you hate him at the exact same time. Those are the type of villains I enjoy the most. Villains that you can sympathize with, understand, know why they did it, but also hate, and hate to their very fucking core, to where you just want to see their head on a pike. The best type of villains, in my opinion. So tell me, Chibits, what is the best type of villains in your opinion? What do you think is the best? I mean, do you agree with me? Do you feel like characters like Makishima Shogo from Psycho Pass, or characters like, the Mongolians in Fullmetal Alchemist, or characters like Griffith and Marilyn are some of the best type of villains in literature? Or do you think there's something else that I don't know of and you think is currently better than these type of villains? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm very curious to see what you all think. And also, for an added bonus, what is your favorite villain? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live, and hopefully this got you to learn a little bit more about what I like from villains. Please be safe. Chibi out.